right. All right. Let's get this show on the road. Hey everybody. I want to wish you a very happy Monday. We are here. A little bit of change of scenery, right? I'm not sure many people have been here before, but this is the Hudson Yards. Now, there's this really unique, really beautiful tree monument / sculpture that we'll be checking out tonight, but check this out. Now right here, you'll see my finger in a moment, right here, boom. This is the brand new Moynihan extension to the High Line. It is so cool, it is so unique, and it actually connects the High Line all the way to the opposite side of the Hudson Yards. Let me see if I can rotate this even more. Yeah, all the way over here to the Whole Foods. So if it's not late enough, if it's not too late, I think we'll be taking a little bit of a walk on the High Line tonight as we do our stream, and then we will end up and conclude the live stream all the way at Lincoln Center. Now, we tried to do that yesterday, but I think we got a little bit sidetracked. Ran out of battery right at Lincoln Center, so hopefully we'll be able to do that tonight. I hope everybody had a great weekend. Today is Monday, July 31st, 2023. It is going to be another very busy week on Wall Street. We have a lot of notable earnings reports coming out, some major economic data, as well as we are going to hear from the Institute for Supply Management. Now, I want to provide you all with an interesting link. So if you look in the chat right now, you'll see my name highlighted. You'll see Walks in Wall Street. I'm actually going to give you the direct link to the Institute for Supply Management's website. Now, tomorrow is the 1st of August, which is kind of hard to believe, but that is the reality we are living in. So on the first business day of every single month, the Institute for Supply Management will release the PMI numbers for the manufacturing sector, and about 2 days later, so on Thursday, we are going to get the service numbers, so the service PMIs. Now, these are very good leading economic indicators. Oftentimes on the live stream, we'll talk about 3 specific types of economic indicators. Number 1 will be your leading economic indicators. Number 2 will be your lagging economic indicators. And then finally, you will have your coincident economic indicators. What I want to do before we start off the live stream, I'll quickly go over to TradingView. We'll see how the markets did today. If we look at the S&P 500, you type in ticker symbol SPX. We were about flat on the day. We were up about 6 points. The S&P finished at 4,588. If we take a look at the Dow 30 or the Dow Jones Industrial Average, ticker symbol DJI, we were up about 100 points, finishing the day at 35,559. And then last but not least, the NASDAQ, ticker symbol NDX for the NASDAQ 100, which is the big tech-heavy index. We were also about flat, up about 6 points, finishing the day at 15,757. Let's take a look at the junk bond market. If you look at ticker symbol JNK, that is the Spiders Bloomberg High Yield Bond ETF. We're actually catching a little bit of a bid. That ETF is trading well above the 50, the 200, and the 100-day moving average. Now, oftentimes, we could use the junk bond market as a risk appetite gauge in the marketplace. Usually, not all the time, it's not an exact science, but oftentimes we could use junk bonds as sort of a leading economic indicator in and of itself, right? We can gauge the market's appetite for risk, because if you think about what a junk bond is, these are more speculative, high-yielding bonds. So if you think about the bond market in the corporate debt market, you have your investment grade, and you have your non-investment grade. So essentially, a lot of the ratings agencies, right, I'm sure you guys know about them, Moody's and the like, S&P, they will assign companies a rating based upon their creditworthiness, right? So how likely are they to default on their debt obligations? Now, a company like Apple, which is going to report earnings here on Thursday, has a very high credit score, right? Ratings agency, from the ratings agencies. So Apple can borrow money at a lot cheaper than, let's say, company XYZ that is, almost going to go into default or delinquency. So obviously higher risk for higher return, but as you get that higher risk, the higher the yield on those corporate bonds essentially means you're at a higher probability of not getting paid back. So I just wanted to quickly periodically check in on ticker symbol JNK for junk bonds. Let's switch over to crude oil. If you look at crude oil futures, if you look at the ticker symbol CL, we're trading at $81.61 a barrel. Also trading above the 50, 200, and 100-day moving average. I'm going to go ahead and close up the laptop here, everybody. I'll say hello to everybody in the chat, and then we will get the stream started. Once again, we are going to be walking uptown today, going all the way to Lincoln Center. We have a full battery, so I'm sure we will make it all the way up there tonight. But if you're wondering where we are starting from, this is the Hudson Yards, and we are streaming in front of this very interesting sort of like tree sculpture. So give me 2 minutes, and we will get started. Hopefully you all had a fantastic Monday. All right, let me clip the microphone on. All right, and we are good to go, everybody. Gorgeous night, gorgeous day in New York City, if I do say so myself. Now, this building all the way over here, this is actually the Edge. This is a major tourist attraction, observation deck, right here at the Hudson Yards. If you look behind us, I'll sort of turn the camera to the south. This is southbound. This will take you all the way down to the World Trade Center. Seems like there's actually a lot of traffic going uptown. If you walk to the other side of the High Line here, you'll see more of the traffic going past the Whole Foods. And this is the main entrance to the Moynihan Extension. So this is brand new. This is actually just opened, I believe, at the beginning of June. Governor Kathy Hochul actually did an opening ceremony right here. So this is all brand new, starting right here. Now, if you want to get here on your own, if you're visiting or maybe, and walk until you pretty much can't walk anymore, you'll see these sort of curving staircases. You come up the stairs and you will sort of be greeted right here at the entrance to the brand new High Line. Blues Writers here, what is up? Brick Stonewall, I see Richard Vogel. The one and only Ryan Beck. What's up, Ryan? Good to see you. GGNYC, Buy the Book is here. Connor, what's up? Thank you, Connor. Johnny C, thanks for joining us. Abdullah, Michael S, thank you so much for joining. Who else do we have in here? I think I said Blues Writer. Sunshine After Rain, thanks for joining. Daniela, Austin City Limits, Phil. All right, we got a full house early today. I'm sure all of you have heard of the new game Pickleball. Now there's an even newer game now that they're trying to get catch on, and it's paddle. I've never played it, but they built this brand new paddle court right here at the Hudson Yards, which is actually kind of cool. I see Sally's here. What's up, Nicole Smith? Good to see you, John. is joining us from New Jersey. Thanks for joining us. Tim Thompson, DC, is here. Yeah, TEOKI says it looks great. It is. This is really cool, and this is brand new. Not a lot of people know about it. This is the Moynihan extension. So since we're here, we might as well walk all the way down, and then we're going to bang a left, and this will take us all the way to the Whole Foods, and then we'll get back on the main ground and head all the way up to Lincoln Center. Hey, Connor, this is Tom. Do you prefer the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times? The Wall Street Journal. I don't even think I've ever read the New York Times. You know, for me, and I want to know your guys' take on this, I'm just not interested in traditional news anymore. It's honestly, I'm just not even interested. Now, the only reason why I read the Wall Street Journal, Barron's, and Investors Business Daily is because it has a very, very aggressive financial focus, right? And it's very, very difficult to manipulate and to get spun a narrative if you're talking about sort of finances, like corporate earnings, for example, or interviews with CEOs. I just am kind of sick of getting spoon-fed a narrative, more like opinionated pieces. So I think in terms of the value you get out of it, I think Wall Street Journal, Barron's, Investors Business Daily is going to give you a lot more value, right? I think the New York Times, Washington Post, even though they're not technically opinionated pieces, they just really are. And I feel like I'm not learning anything, right? With IBD, with Investors Business Daily, at least they do deep dives on companies. You know, one of my favorite sections within that newspaper is the New Americas section, where they outline, new and innovative technologies that are, groundbreaking here in the United States and abroad. So that's sort of what I enjoy reading. I really don't enjoy like political narratives. It's just kind of boring to me. But I don't know. What do you think? Yeah, Alex says The Motley Fool is good. The Motley Fool is actually very good. They're another publication that is very, very good, and it's enjoyable to read. Now check this out. We are now walking over the Moynihan extension. Now these look like huge steel I-beams, but they're not. This is actually wood. And it kind of smells like wood too. I mean, they did a really good job with this. This is like compressed and condensed wood. Super interesting. Hey, the LT Prod to CNBC seems like it's an ad for different investment firms. Well, I mean, they definitely do run advertising, right? I mean, they're a media organization. I don't know. I think I enjoy more investigative kind of journalism. And when you're covering a specific company or something like that, you kind of have to approach it from an investigative standpoint, so to speak. So I don't know. I mean, maybe that's just the things that I'm interested in. I don't really find too much interest in the Times. I don't know. Maybe just a personal opinion. Now, if you look all the way in the distance, you'll see Madison Square Garden. It's a beautiful night here in New York. Hey, photos from around New York. Good to see you. There's a building in Williamsburg that is completely built out of wood. What building is that, by the way? War Walker, what's up? From the 305. Always a pleasure to see you. Zane, welcome. Glass of beer 12 is coming from Bangkok, Thailand. Thank you so much. Robert Parker says New York Times used to focus on financial news, but later turned political. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't really want to get down the rabbit hole of political conversation. Some people like it, right? Some people like politics. They love it. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just I'm not too much interested in it. I think just over the last couple of years, it's kind of been exhausting, in my view. Now, if you like that kind of stuff, no biggie. But guys, check this out. All right, so as you come off the High Line, right, the brand new Moynihan extension, it literally drops you right off in front of the Whole Foods, which is fantastic. This is an amazing public space to eat, have lunch, even have dinner, and it's open to 1 o'clock in the morning, by the way. So this opens at 6, it closes at 1 a.m. I mean, you might as well just keep it open for 24 hours, but I guess 6 a.m. to 1 a.m. is not too bad. Not too bad at all. Yeah, Western Mass Dave is like exhausting is an understatement. Yeah, and I mean, you know, I've been a little bit taxed from it, I'm not gonna lie. I'm sure many of you would echo the same thing, right? I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth. That's a beautiful dog to the right. But I feel as if the political environment has just been like exhausting. Like anytime you hear somebody talk about anything as it relates to politics now, it's just automatically, I tune it out. Now maybe that's what the powers that may be, maybe that's what they want. And if that's sort of their facetious plan, I think it's kind of working pretty well. I don't know, at least it's working on me. Now, as you exit the Whole Foods, you have this gorgeous view of the Empire State Building all the way in the distance. And these are all brand new Class A office towers. Now, a lot of them, I would say the tower on the right, there's a lot of vacant space still. However, one of the interesting things that you're seeing now as it relates to commercial office space here in New York City is a lot of the Class B and Class C older office buildings, right, that were built in the 80s and even the 90s. You're starting to see companies downsize their space and move into these brand new, gorgeous, adopting this hybrid style work environment, if you will. To entice your employees to come to work, well, they're going to need a nicer space. They're going to want an interesting place to come to work, which is the Hudson Yards, but you're not going to need all of that space. So it's newer, better, but less space. It's kind of interesting. How many of you in the chat, we do this periodically. I like to check in about once a month, and since it's almost August, tomorrow is August, we're a little bit of a mix. I'm fully back in now. No longer, I guess, technically hybrid, but it's more of a choice, I would say. Hey, Connor is here. What's up? So this is Hudson Yards. Oh, this and Hudson Yards are both failures. Every skyscraper is vacant when affordable housing could have been built. I think that's a very easy comment, with all due respect. I think it's very easy to comment that. If you knew a lot about, and I'm trying to be very respectful, and I get, you're upset about it. It's a big problem in the city with affordable housing. But if you knew about real estate development in New York, if you knew about zoning laws, if you knew about the regulations, if you knew about rent controls, I think you would revise that comment. Now, there are, I would say the city's doing more to harm and make the problem of affordable housing way worse. There's actually been multiple developments proposed to the city of New York saying, hey, we are going to develop, I'll just give you an example. Okay, we'll develop a plot of land in Harlem and we'll allocate 25% of the building to affordable housing. And the city struck it down because they're like, no, we want 100% of the building allocated to affordable housing. Okay, well then the developer's not going to make money and then the building's not going to be built. So I would say the city has really done a bang-up job at digging itself deeper and deeper hole, if you will. But yeah, maybe that'll be a topic for another day. But in general, you're right. In general, there is a major problem in New York City as it relates to affordable housing. But the government, the local government here, is doing everything to make the problem worse, if not better. Hey, the Austin Tennis, what's up, man? Hope all is well with you at PagerDuty. Says, hey Tom, I paid Becco a visit last week, wasn't too impressed. Yikes. Austin Tennis, you should have hit me up, my friend. I I would have made sure they hooked you up there. How long are you in the city, by the way? Mike says, are you by the Flatiron building? I'm staying there. So we're not by the Flatiron building now. This is about 33rd Street-ish. The Flatiron is down by 23rd Street, which I was actually down there today, by the way. I'm working on a really, really beautiful deal down there. Now, the building is called Gramercy North, if you want to check it out. I think the exact address is 139 East 23rd Street, I think. It's either 129 or 139, but check it out. It's an awesome new development. I think it's about 15 units in total. And one of the cool things about the development is that every single floor has its exclusive unit. So there's 15 floors. You get in the elevator, you punch in your key fob. Let's say if you are on, floor 15, the elevator dock drops you directly off in your foyer, which is really, really cool. Now, I think the building is about 70% sold. I think the penthouse, the 14th floor, and the second floor are still available on the market. Super unique building. And the developer is a very nice guy. I was meeting with him today. Hey, Triple G, what's up? Good to see you. This is Tom, was one of my earliest YouTube subscriptions, and I actually prefer the stream more now because it's minus the skateboarding noises, I know. Yeah, way back in the day, we actually used to do this on a skateboard, which was kind of crazy, right? DC322, what's up? Says most of the people could barely afford to make rent. What do you mean by most of the people? What do you mean by that? New York is a very diverse place. I think, especially non-New Yorkers, I don't think they understand just how diverse New York is. Not only from, an ethnic stance, but from a socioeconomic status stance. It is such a diverse city, it's unbelievable. And look, I try to avoid general statements. There is a lot of nuance. The city is very expensive. Cost of living is extremely high here. These are all issues, these are all problems. But I don't think they're exclusive to New York. I mean, any place, right, if we just be honest with ourselves, any place where people want to live, that's very, very desirable, if you will, it's going to be expensive. So places like New York, places like Miami, LA, San Francisco, Austin, Texas, just name any major city in the United States that people dream of coming to, and it's going to be expensive, right? Boston, it's expensive, right? If it's desirable, if it has good jobs, if it has opportunity, it's basic supply and demand. Lots of people want to come to New York because there's great opportunity here, there's great networking, there's some of the best educational institutions in the entire world here, so people want to come here, right? And I would say that generally speaking for the United States, not even exclusive to cities in the United States, but America in general, right? The opportunity is here. The infrastructure is here. The best colleges, universities, they're here. And that just so happens to attract the best and brightest from all over the world. So it's going to be expensive here. It's just part of it. Just part of it. All right. We are on track. I think we're going to head directly up 8th Avenue tonight. Maybe. I got to check it out. I'll scope it out. But I don't know. Any thoughts there? Because I want your feedback. I think that's fair to say. If you go to LA, it's expensive there. I have friends who live in LA. I have friends who live in Houston. I have friends who live in Austin. It's expensive. War Walker lives in Miami. It's expensive there. He likes to be in Miami Beach. He's there for a reason. All right, this is the corner of 34th Street now. Yeah, Ryan Beck says it's def expensive. Jen says Canada is very expensive. Yeah, I mean, that's another place, right? Think about Toronto. When people complain about how high real estate prices are in places like New York, San Francisco, Miami, try buying a place in Toronto. I mean, my gosh. A starter home there is like $1 million in terms of US dollars. It's crazy. We actually have a lot of viewers from Canada, from Toronto, Vancouver, and they say the same thing. You know, a basic starter home in a good neighborhood on the outskirts of Toronto could run you $1 million. It's crazy. But again, it's one of those big cities that there's a lot of opportunity in Toronto. It's a financial capital of the world. It's a massive, massive city that attracts a lot of very smart immigrants from all over the world, including people from the United States. So it's a good point. Good point on Canada. Wow, Steve says my 1,000 square foot condo in Vancouver is worth $1.3 million. Wow. Wow, 1,300 square foot. You know, that's like New York City prices. So again, Vancouver is another city that's gorgeous. People want to be there, right? There's great sporting teams, there's events. 1,300 square feet, 1.3 million. So I'm assuming that's what, maybe a 2-bedroom, 2.5 bath, or 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom. Yeah, that's almost exactly New York City prices, maybe a tad less. All right, let's cross here. This is 14 Penn Plaza. Jen Claus says Vancouver is beautiful. Hey, Shannon Hall is here. Good to see you, Shannon. Zane says, Tom, the main thing that sucks in housing costs accelerating so much faster than inflation, and new unit construction isn't keeping up. That's true. The short guy says the whole point of this show is that people just want to watch. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. You know, many people, you know, watch the show just to see New York City. And if you're not from here, very desirable place. Very good observation there, short guy. Just the guy says Vancouver has major problems with homelessness, worse than San Francisco. Well, I mean, welcome to the club. Everywhere has that. You know, New York included. Oops. Yeah, I mean, these are all good points. I think if you tend to have an optimistic reframe, if you will, you know, if I took a handful of college students and I said, write the most egregious bear thesis on major cities like San Francisco, like New York, like Miami, they could come up with data points that would scare the hell out of you and you wouldn't even want to come out from under your covers, right? But if you did the same exact thing, you asked a group of college students and said, hey, write a glowing, you know, bull thesis on all of those major cities we just defined, they could do it. It's all about what you want to focus on. And from my experience anyway, you will always be shown the negativity in exacerbated amounts. They will always ram blast and rail the negativity and the fear porn down your throat, always, right? Because that's what generates more clicks. It's human psychology. But there's always positives and negatives to everything, I think. We got the NYPD cruising down. This is an awesome shot of the Empire. Hey, Y-Town says, Tom, what are your thoughts on complexities for first-time homeowners right now compared to a few years back? High mortgage rates, inflated home values, and for some, student loan payments relaunching. Well, I think those are all
major concerns, and I think they're major problems. Now, what usually happens is this, right? Because the housing market in general is very dependent, well, historically is very dependent on rates. So we're going to talk in generalities here, which usually I don't like to do, but for the purpose of this, I think it's important. Generally speaking, as the cost of capital goes up, right, which is interest rates, valuations take a little bit of a beating, right? So valuations come down. The problem is, over the last, let's say, 14 odd years, the Federal Reserve has kept interest rates artificially suppressed for way too long. So this has allowed way too many market participants to have access to really, really cheap capital to acquire assets, right? So if you just go to a basic, mortgage calculator, right? $400,000 house, let's say you put $100,000 down, you take on $300,000 worth of debt. Well, $300,000 worth of debt in 2021 is much different than $300,000 worth of debt in 2023. The average 30-year fixed this time in 2021 was just under 3%, if you could believe that. I think the average 30-year fixed rate mortgage right now is 7.25%. That's insanity. Now the problem is, on a national basis, that's the new Mustang Mach-E. Those things are sick. Those are awesome. Now the problem is, to your point, on a national basis, home prices aren't really coming down all that much, unfortunately. So not only do you have the elevated, now they are coming down, right? But we're talking in general. Home prices are coming down. They're coming down in New York. They're coming down across the nation, but not nearly enough to sort of bring the market back into a balanced equilibrium. So again, to your point, you had an explosion in valuations from 2021 to 2023, and now the cost of money is double. So what we're seeing right now, and I'm not sure if anybody's ever heard of the Olshan report. So the Olshan report is a report of luxury real estate in New York City. Now, luxury market is considered any transaction above $4 million, okay? So any transaction that was done above $4 million. Now, here's the interesting thing we're seeing in Manhattan. The vast majority of transactions over $4 million are actually cash transactions. They're actually not even financed. So to me, this sort of proves our thesis that over the last 14 years, the Federal Reserve has done a really good job of widening the wealth gap even more. So you have really, really rich people got significantly more wealthy, and everybody else either stayed the same or actually moved down a rung in their socioeconomic ladder. So to me, the people who are buying, these luxury properties, they're not going to take on the debt to do it, because it would just be a waste of money. They're just choosing to pay cash. And if you look at the National Association of Realtors, their existing home sales reports, look at the trajectory in transaction volume, right? Right in the median range of $335,000 to $400,000. Transactions have been falling off a cliff for the last 2 years, and that's because the average person can't afford it, right? Now, you would think basic supply and demand. Well, why aren't prices falling? Well, again, going back I think about 85% of existing mortgages outstanding in the United States, give or take a few percentage points, you could Google this yourself, but the vast majority of outstanding mortgages are under 5%. So what incentive does anybody really have to list their home on the market if they have a lot of equity and their monthly payments are very, very low? So law of supply and demand, we don't have a lot of new construction coming on the market, and we don't have a lot of resales coming on the market. There needs to be some sort of catalyst that changes that. I just don't know what it'll be. Maybe it'll be unemployment, but unemployment is at the lowest level it's ever been in this country. So, I don't know, any thoughts on that? MBA Elias says many home/apartment owners here in California are house rich but cash poor. Yeah, I mean, I think that's another really good point MBA Elias makes. Real estate is relatively illiquid, right? So, you know, if you look at a breakdown of the most wealthy people, and I think we talked about this as we were discussing Tesla, because there's many people that just don't understand liquidity. You know, there's people out there that'll say, oh my gosh, Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg and Bill Gates, these people are so evil, they're so wealthy, and they don't create any value for anybody else. And they think that, you know, just because they're worth $30 billion, they think they have $30 billion sitting in a Chase checking account. If anything, Elon Musk is probably very, very illiquid right now. So, to your point, you could be a millionaire on paper, right, and have a paid off house of $1 million, but have $0 in your checking or your savings account. And that's a lot of people, actually. Harvard Business School actually did a study that the vast majority of first generation millionaires in America, meaning you didn't get like a very big inheritance, you know, mommy and daddy didn't give you the money, you're self-made. The number one way self-made millionaires in America got their first $1 million in net worth is through the equity in their home. So going back to the original comment of, you know, what do we think this means for prospective first-time home buyers? I don't think it's good news, right? Because if you look at all the data, usually the way people get to their first $1 million or first million in net worth is through their home equity. So I think it's a problem. I think it's a really big problem. Valhalla says Finland, HS, the best approach to resolve homelessness. The government buy off the private sector to house the poor. Interesting. Marcos, good to see you. Hey, Evan Weeks is one of my heroes, is Steve Wozniak. He's a billionaire, but one of the best people I've ever met. He is a great guy. Evan, it's good to see you. Thank you for joining us. We're going to head to Lincoln Center tonight. I think we're making good time to do that too. I see Lady Sarita Jen says, I really noticed all these people living on credit and loans when I worked at a bank. Yeah, it's, and I think, didn't we just get some data from the Federal Reserve not too long ago that household debt reached a new all-time record high in the United States? It may be a cultural thing, though. What do we think about the idea of that potentially being a cultural thing as well? Because Americans are spenders, right? If you look at all the data, Americans are spenders. We talked about lifestyle creep, right? And one of the main things that Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell has been saying is that wage inflation continues to persist. So companies are paying their employees more. People are making more money. They have higher salaries in general, higher household incomes. But studies show that if you had a $100,000 salary in 2020, for example, and you got a $20,000 raise, and now you're making $120,000, very, very seldom will people actually maintain their spending as if they made $100,000. They'll ratchet it right up, maybe even spend as if they made $150, right? Speaking about credit. So I think it's just like Western culture, perhaps. I think it's a Western culture thing. Who knows? Evan Weeks' wage inflation is a deflection from the core problem of greedflation. Maybe. There's a lot of people who say that. I have some differing opinions on that, but it's definitely a good thing to bring up for sure. MBA lies is another factor supporting consumer spending. Many Americans were able to lock in low interest rates on mortgages, car loans, and other debts before the Fed started to raise rates. Yeah, and that actually does show up in the data, right? Once the big C happened, once COVID happened, the Fed dropped rates to near zero. And household consumer debt literally took off like a rocket ship. So a lot of the debt outstanding, assuming it's not on adjustable rates, which the vast majority of it is not, you'll have a large amount of debt outstanding, but generally speaking, due to low unemployment, right? I think unemployment in the United States right now is what, 3.4%? Something like that? So Americans are having a doable time with servicing the debt. A doable time with servicing the debt. Now, what could be a catalyst that could make it a very difficult time to service the debt? Well, I think somebody already said it. Student loan payments are going to start to commence again very soon. I'm not sure the exact date, but this was all on forbearance, right? So student loan payments were put on hold. Now, I don't think they were accruing interest when they were put on hold, but many people weren't paying them, and they were, instead of saving the money, they were just spending the money. So hey, Robert Parker's here. Says, hey Tom, the major problem is people don't know how to invest. That's why I like your channel. Thank you so much, Robert Parker. It's very kind of you to say. Hopefully you are doing well and having a good Monday so far. Now guys, check this out. This is Joe's Pizza. Now, Joe's is good, but in my opinion, my honest opinion, I don't think it's this good to have the line stretching all the way down the block. I think there's a lot of better alternatives, especially if you go to the Upper West Side of Manhattan. But I think Joe's is just one of those very iconic tourist attractions, if you will. Now, I heard a rumor, and it may have been one of you in the chat who told me about it, but I think they just opened up a location in Wynwood, Miami. I think Joe's Pizza is now in South Florida. Has anybody ever been to Joe's in South Florida? Hey, Marcus here says, holy, that's the pizza line. Yeah, this is the line for slices. Look at that. It stretches all the way back to Broadway and West 40th Street. It actually curls around the block a little bit. But yeah, and think about that. This is a Monday. Funny that we're having this conversation about consumer spending. Put this into context, okay? This is a Monday night. A Monday night, right around 10 o'clock at night. And this is the line for the pizza shop on Broadway and West 40th Street. So there's tourists traveling this summer for sure. We did get actually a little bit of a glimpse into that this earnings season when the airlines reported. American Airlines reported a great quarter, showing travel volumes picking up yet again. I think this most recent 4th of July was the most traveled 4th of July on record, I think. All right, West 41st Street and Broadway. Maybe we'll take a right and say hello to our good friend Mark Benioff, the CEO of Salesforce. His place is at the corner here on the left. Look at this, I'm kind of glad we came this way. This is the Paris Baguette. This is actually a Korean restaurant chain, by the way. A lot of people think this is French. That's actually incorrect. This is Korean. And it is absolutely packed. There's not a place to sit down in there. So people are definitely out spending, that's for sure. Hey, Life, Liberty, and Guns, good to see you. Barbara Lorenz, welcome. Dr. Longus is here. Good to see all of you. Hey, Hawaii, welcome. We're passing Chopped. Yesterday we did a whole 2-hour diatribe on one of their competitors, a main competitor of Chopped, Sweet Green. We were talking about automation. If you guys missed that video, if you type !sweet in the chat, you could revert back to one of the videos we were talking about as it relates to automation. Now, this big green building to the left is Salesforce Tower. It has a Whole Foods in the basement. Whole Foods now is actually owned by Amazon. Amazon is going to have a big earnings report on Thursday, which is going to be very interesting to hear from Amazon as well as Apple. And that's really going to round out the large cap, mega cap tech this earnings season. So I think you're going to see the equity market, kind of drifting sideways until Thursday. Oh, look at this. So you may be wondering why there's so many people leaving Bryant Park right now. Well, one of the most beautiful things about New York City in the summer is that they actually have free movies in the park. So from June 12th through August 21st, there's going to be movie nights at Bryant Park every single Monday starting at 8 o'clock at night, okay? So if you're looking for something to do in the city and you don't want to spend a lot of money and you're on a budget, this is an amazing activity to do for free. So again, through June 12th through August 21st, every single Monday night at 8 o'clock, you can watch a movie right here at the Bryant Park lawn. Pretty cool stuff. Dan Sang says, hey Tom, have you tried any good bubble tea lately? I did. I actually had some today. It's kind of ironic that you mentioned that. So Dan, I went back to the same sushi place that I went to yesterday, the one where it serves it up on an assembly line. And then I went to this good boba place right in Koreatown, 32nd and Broadway. Really good stuff. Now, I've noticed exactly what you've been talking about. If you get a large bubble tea now, it's going to cost you about $8.50. Isn't that crazy? That's wild. But hey, that's the prices. That's probably about $1.50 more than it was last year, so you're spot on with that in terms of the food inflation. I want to try to get you guys a good view of the lawn here. But first, this is the fountain at Bryant Park. This is one of my favorite places in the city. I love this place. So peaceful here. Oh, you can still see some people on the lawn too. We'll try to maneuver our way around here. Wow. Hold on, let me turn the camera around. You guys are gonna love this shot. Look at this. Now, if we think back to the conversation we were having about 40 minutes ago about all the negative stuff, right? The rents are egregiously high, the crime, the homelessness. This is gorgeous here. I mean, you could only find this in New York City. This is absolutely gorgeous. Thousands of people hanging out, watching a movie. Now, if you had to guess in the comments, how many people do you think could realistically fit on the lawn here watching the movie? Yeah, Don in Miami also for sure. Yeah, NBA Elias maybe. Hey, Ren 1018, what's up? Good to see you. I'm not too sure what movie they're watching, but they're on the megaphone and we gotta head out now. You could hear them over the loudspeakers, so we'll make our way to the exit. But I'm glad I got to show you guys this. This is really cool. Even though New York is very expensive, there's always fun, free activities to do. Now, as we make our way uptown towards Lincoln Center, you guys are going to see even more fun, free things to do in the summer. Now, at Lincoln Center, right, if you're going to plan your vacation or maybe you're just moving to the city and you're going to get here within the next couple of weeks, there's I think the world's largest outdoor disco ball that is set up at Lincoln Center, where there's outdoor events happening all summer. Yeah, Ren 1018, I agree with that. Now here's one thing that I do think is really, really egregious that I'm going to tell you guys. So I was running really, really late to a meeting today. I had to get all the way down to Gramercy from my office on 57th Street. And I was going to be late if I took the train. I was going to be late if I took, a city bike. So I actually jumped in one of these guys, if you could believe it. I jumped in a taxi. And the taxi driver was like such a nice guy. He had such a positive attitude, but he was telling me, and he was very upset about this new congestion pricing. He's like, look, I came to the United States and my taxi medallion was my retirement. He said he spent about $1 million on this taxi medallion and he still owes the bank about $250,000. Now the problem is the taxi medallion is not even worth a fraction of the $1 million that he paid for it anymore. Obviously due to Uber and the disruption. So he was saying, New York City allowed this frenzy, this bubble of taxi medallions to go on. There's actually some really good documentaries that explains in depth, pretty much play-by-play, why these taxi drivers got into such a big bind as it related to the taxi medallions. There was a lot of predatory lending. There was a lot of just really, really unethical, like hard money loans and loan sharking going on. And he was saying after all of this stuff, right, after I go to work every day, I work 40 hours, sometimes even more a week, I still have to pay off my $200,000 loan balance when the taxi medallion's not even worth a quarter of what I paid for it. And to top it all off, starting now, I think they just implemented congestion pricing. I think they just put in the tolls on the Upper West Side going into Midtown. And taxis, he told me they're going to be charged $4.50. So, if he's making, let's say, $10 for the fare, they're going to bang this poor guy for $4.50 just to drive in and around Midtown where all of his clients are. I think it's horrible. Now, if I was a politician in New York, which you will never see me being a politician in New York, I would say that taxi drivers and Uber drivers should be exempt from the congestion pricing. I mean, if it were me, I wouldn't even have any of the congestion pricing. I think that's just absolutely ridiculous. But if you're gonna have it, you should at least make an exemption for yellow cabs and Ubers and Lyfts, because that's just ridiculous in my view. Yeah, Ren 1018 says the city should only charge them half to make it right. They shouldn't charge them anything. I mean, look, these taxi drivers, they're driving around all day. What are you just going to keep hammering these guys? Now, to be fair, I think they're limited to what, 2 tolls a day? I don't know. The guy was telling me, I was sort of prepping for a pitch and listening to this guy. But I couldn't believe it when he told me that. He's like, yeah, yellow taxis and Ubers have to pay the congestion pricing. I mean, you couldn't be more anti-business. I love New York. You know, we do a live stream where we walk around New York, talk about it, we try to be positive, but you know, the one pitfall of this city is they do not make it easy to do business. They don't. Hopefully that will change. Hopefully. Hey, Mothman is here, welcome. Ryan Beck says, oh, is this the bridge fee? So it's a new toll, right? It's a new toll that's going to be coming to New York City. It's called congestion pricing. And this is going to apply to anybody who brings their car into Midtown Manhattan. I think it's below 66th Street, I think. Now, I don't drive, so I'm really not too in tune with this congestion pricing. So maybe if somebody wants to chime in here. But I think once you pass 66th Street going downtown into Midtown Manhattan, they're going to take a photo of your license plate and they're going to send you a bill, or it'll just get charged to your Easy Pass. And it's going to be like a $4.50 charge, I think going up to $7 depending on the size of your vehicle. It's crazy. Yeah, MBA Elias is like congestion pricing is basically a tax. Now, here's what's really, really horrible. And here's one of the main reasons why they're deciding to do congestion pricing, is because the MTA is losing millions and millions and millions of dollars due to fare evaders. So every time you see somebody jumping the turnstile, every time you see somebody going through the emergency exit, you know, they're essentially busting all of our balls, right? Just to be very candid. I usually don't speak like that, but you know, every time you see someone doing that, it may just be like a little juvenile thing. Yeah, you know, he's jumping the turnstile, but that adds up. And then guess who's going to have to pay for that? You, if you drive into the city. So instead of punishing the crime and punishing the criminals, the city will just, you know, do a pass-through tax onto you. So everybody can jump the turnstile, but if you want to go to work and drive your car to work, you're going to have to pay for that, which is one of the things I think is horrible. But oh, we almost passed. I wanted to bring you guys past the Marshall McLennan building. This is West 46th Street and Avenue of the Americas. This is my old office building, by the way. I actually used to sit literally right here. This was my cubicle. And there used to be a gentleman who used to work in this office. We used to wave to each other from time to time. Now, once COVID happened, 1180 Avenue of the Americas is totally vacant. All of the companies that were in this building, gone. It's completely empty. They only have 2 retail tenants on the ground floor, which is T-Mobile and Chick-fil-A. But Marshall McLennan, major consulting firm. There's also a very well-renowned quantitative-based hedge fund here called D.E. Shaw. And speaking of Thursday, Amazon is going to be reporting earnings. The founder of Amazon, Jeff Bezos, that was his first job. He was an analyst at David E. Shaw & Co., D.E. Shaw. He was a quantitative. That was his first job out of college. And I always tell this story, but I think it's fair to tell it again because we do have a lot of new listeners. There's a very interesting story about how Amazon actually got started. And it was when Jeff Bezos was an analyst at D.E. Shaw. And he had this idea of selling books on the internet or selling books online. So he sends an email to his boss. And at the time, his boss was David Shaw. That's the founder of the hedge fund. And he says, David, I want to take you for a walk around Central Park. I want to talk to you about something and a business idea that I have. So David Shaw agreed, and Jeff Bezos and David Shaw took a little bit of a walk in Central Park. Now during that walk, Jeff Bezos pitched David Shaw the idea of Amazon, which at the time it wasn't, the cloud computing business. It wasn't selling every product under the sun online. It was just selling books online. And David Shaw turns to Jeff Bezos and says, Jeff, that actually sounds like a really good idea, but for somebody that doesn't already have a really good job. Because you got to understand, this was, early 90s, maybe even a little bit before then. And, he was probably making about $500,000 as a quantitative at this hedge fund. Now, back then, $500,000 in, the late 80s, early 90s was a hell of a lot of money. But thankfully, right, Jeff Bezos took a couple weeks to think about it. And he's like, you know what? I'm going to leave my cushy job on Wall Street. And I'm going to go leave this to sell books online. And that's sort of how Amazon started, right at D.E. Shaw. So it just goes to show you that if you really want to do something, you should follow what you're passionate about, because the money will come. That is almost a guarantee. If you're smart, if you're intelligent, if you have a passion about something, the money will come eventually. This, my friends, is Adele's. I'm not sure if anybody's a big fan of halal food. I personally am. It's one of my personal favorite foods. I don't eat it often. It's just because it's not good to eat all the time. But it's a great treat to have. It is right here outside of Radio City Music Hall. And again, look at the line. The line is stretching all the way down the block from West 49th Street to West 48th Street. This is like a 3-hour line here. But look at this, they redid all of this. This used to look horrible, but they redid everything. I know Ren 1018 says, God bless startup founders, such a hard thing to endure. It really is. I mean, but that's the beauty of American capitalism, right? And that's why I'm so optimistic on the United States. Forever, essentially, in perpetuity. Because what's so unique about the United States is we have individualized property rights and individualized ownership rights. So essentially what we're projecting to the rest of the world is that if you come here, it doesn't matter what your socioeconomic status is, doesn't matter what your religion is, doesn't matter what your education is. If you come here and you build a business for yourself, you can get rich here and enrich yourself and enrich your family and achieve the American dream. It's not like that in a lot of places around the world. And so long as that bedrock and that framework is intact in the United States, which it still is very alive and well, the United States is going to be acting as a brain drain to the rest of the world. The smartest people from all over the world, from every country, by and large, choose here to start their businesses. And that intellectual capital, you have the best educational institutions where foreigners send their children to school to get educated in the United States. They get really good jobs, they get visas, they choose to get married and have kids and start families in the US of A as opposed to anywhere else. And to even take it a step further, those are the individuals that are going to start companies. Those companies are going to need to raise money. Those companies are going to go public on the exchange, and we will be able to buy fractional ownership in those companies and reap the same rewards as the founders, which is fantastic. That is the definition of American capitalism. And that's why everybody wants to come here. I'm fired up, man. I'm fired up now. And I kind of got to calm down because I got to be up super early, but I'm all fired up about America now. This is Radio City Music Hall. Lots of traffic for a Monday. Lots of traffic. Hey, Marcelo Gill, what's up? Marcelo, we're actually about to pass UBS right over here. Now, UBS actually took over or acquired Credit Suisse during the whole Silicon Valley banking collapse I'm sure that's all very fresh in our minds. So now we sort of have the monopoly of Swiss banking right here on the corner. Hey, D is here. Dusty Cole, what's up? Now, across the street is the Nürburger Berman. This is a big asset manager. Hey, EO, thank you so much for your very generous and kind $2 donation. Thank you so much for supporting us. Hey, Joel PM says you could always stand on the corner and sing the anthem and let it out loud. Yeah, we could always do that. I think they call that busking, right? Something like that. Hey, Thomas Conroy says, Tom, I just turned 21 and I'm going to be in Manhattan this weekend. Any recommendations? Wow, dude. Well, happy birthday, first of all. That's awesome. God bless you and wishing you many, many more. You know, I think there's a lot of fun things to do in the city. This weekend is probably going to be on fire in the city. It's going to be a lot of fun. You know, spend some time in the West Village. The West Village is always a great time, especially on the weekend. Check out St. Mark's Place. You're 21, so usually, you know, you'll find kids your age, right? 21 years old, I consider you a kid. So check out St. Mark's. Go to the West Village. There's a lot of fun things to do. And most importantly, just enjoy it, man, because you're only young once. So here's the UBS. Now, right above the MLB store here is actually Mizuho. And Mizuho is a Japanese investment bank. And I think their sales and trading office is there. When the lights are off, you can see all the Bloomberg terminals. And a lot of Wall Street firms are in Midtown now, right? We talked about this quite often, right? You think of Wall Street, the physical street of Wall Street in Lower Manhattan, many people think of finance. It's not really like that anymore. I mean, the New York Stock Exchange is really just a television set now. Very, very little trading and market making actually goes on at the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. Now, it's a great place and I love it. I think it's an icon of American free markets and free market capitalism, which I think is fantastic. But it is really just a historical site in general, right? There's still some trading activity and market making that does go on the floor, but not to the extent of what it used to be prior to electronic trading. Okay, I want to point out one thing and then I promise we're going to beeline it to Lincoln Center. Now, yesterday on the live stream, we did a pretty conclusive review on Billionaires Row. We talked about all the developers. We talked about Extel. We talked about Maclau Group. We talked about Vornado. Now, this right here is 53 West 53rd. Now, even though it's not 57th Street and we're not technically on Billionaires Row, this is technically considered a Billionaires Row building. So 53 West 53rd Street. I will actually be in this building doing a preview of some of the units on Friday. Okay, so if you're interested in learning about my thoughts of the building, what I think, you could follow us on Twitter at Walks Wall Street. I had the pleasure of previewing 130 William, which is an amazing, amazing unit. That's actually down in Lower Manhattan. Now, that was actually the best-selling new condominium in New York in 2022. It's about 90% sold. 90% sold out. The week after that, I was able to preview Olympia Dumbo, which is, I mean, it's running neck and neck with 130 William. It's a gorgeous brand new development in Dumbo. You have breathtaking views of the Manhattan Bridge, the Brooklyn Bridge, all of Midtown Manhattan, Hudson Yards, Billionaires Row. It's a sick, sick building. And then Friday, I'll give you guys my honest review right here. I'll be walking through these doors on Friday, and I'll let you guys know what I think. So stay tuned for that. Hey, Tariq Khan, what's up? This is Tom. I just got back home from New York City. 5 nights at the New York Hyatt Palace. Or the New York Palace. It was a great time. Oh, dude, we were just walking past there last night. I think. Yeah, we were. I'm surprised we didn't see you. If you tuned into the stream last night, you probably could have popped outside your hotel room and said hello. That's so funny. Yeah, we were just walking past there last night. Well, I'm glad you had a good time. Please come back soon. Next time you're in New York, let us know, please. I'd love to grab a coffee, grab a chat. All right, last thing I'll say about 53 West 53rd. It's nicknamed the MoMA building. Now, why would it be nicknamed the MoMA building? This is MoMA. So it literally shares a lobby pretty much with the Museum of Modern Art. This is the, I guess you can call it, what would you call this in the basement? The souvenir shop, if you will, from MoMA, which is one of my favorite museums, by the way. Now, I've said many times my favorite museum in New York City is the Frick Collection. It's a gorgeous museum. If you haven't been, I would highly suggest you go. And then I would say the Morgan Library. So these are probably my top 2. All right, on to Lincoln Center. I just thought, since we're passing 53 West 53rd, might as well check it out. Yeah, Jen, like knickknacks, kind of like that. Like, they sell little souvenirs, trinkets for, people that are visiting. It's a great museum. Hey, Hang with Mark Mom is here. What's up? Hang with Mark Mom. Any predictions for Apple's earnings report on Thursday? Do we think we're going to beat earnings expectations? Or do we think we're going to miss on expectations? Now, I got to show you this really quick. This restaurant is inside 53 West 53. And one of the things you'll notice about all these Billionaire Row buildings is they all incorporate a very, very upscale restaurant. So the tenants of these buildings could have 24/7, 365 room service and catering from the restaurants downstairs. You could even see the restaurant 53. Now, I've actually been to the restaurant at 157. It's called The Living Room. It's actually really, really good. Let's check out some of the prices, guys, on Billionaires Row. What do we think? All right, here's from the grill steak, 35 bucks. Look at this. The Wagyu strip is $185. Now, to be fair, I think Wagyu is one of the most sought after cuts, isn't it? And I believe it's a Japanese cattle. Is that right? Anybody here ever have Wagyu before? Hey, Hang with Mark Mom says, my son thinks Apple will come out with a great report. Their new iPhone 15 is ready to come out soon. We all want it. Yeah, I think they're also going to beat big on their services numbers. Now, over the last couple of years, Apple has really been knocking it out of the park in terms of their services. So you think about, cloud, storage, Apple Music, all that. And Tom Lee, who actually is the founding partner at Fundstrat, he was one of the only analysts back in 2011 to tell Wall Street that Apple deserves a software valuation, right? Many bigwigs on Wall Street were fighting that and saying, look, Apple is just a phone company. It's a phone company. They make hardware. It's just as much of a software company as it is a hardware company. If not, probably over the next couple of years, it'll be more of a software company than it is hardware, in my opinion. Guys, this is 432 Park Avenue. Gorgeous view. But if you're all enjoying the live stream so far tonight, feel free to leave a like on the video and click the subscribe button if you're new. We usually do these live streams starting at 8:30 p.m., walking around New York City, talking about the financial markets and the real estate market, and having a chat, sort of relaxing after work. So feel free to join us if you're new here. Hey, Tug Carter says, hey Tom, we always stay at the Warwick, we love it. You know, I think this was actually closed down during COVID, was it not? Tug Carter, you'd probably know that since you stay there a lot. I think it was closed for a specific amount of time. It may have been closed for over 20 months. But it looks pretty busy now. You know, another hotel that was closed down due to COVID was the Hilton flagship right here. They actually used that time when the building was completely vacant and closed to do a full gut renovation on the lobby. If you have not been inside the brand new flagship Hilton, the lobby is really nice. There's 2 restaurants in there and 2 separate sort of like bar and grill spaces. It's really, really nice. Highly recommend you check it out. Now this monstrosity of a building right in front of us, everybody, this is called 111 West 57th Street, or the Steinway Tower. Now you're actually looking at the skinniest residential apartment building in the entire world. It is an unbelievable building. And I remember when this was just being built, when they were finishing off or topping off the building, I was living right here in 106 Central Park South. And I remember we had the NYPD and the FDNY knock on our building's door and send us out a little alert because the crane tower fell off into the street. Thank God no one was hurt, but we were on a little bit of a lockdown due to that. Now this wasn't the only time that happened, by the way. This happened during Hurricane Sandy at the top of 157, that is the Extel development. So on 57th Street, there's been a lot of issues with cranes. I think it may have been photos from around New York that brought this to our attention last week. But unfortunately, I think it was 47th or maybe 42nd Street and West End Avenue, all the way by the water, a crane caught on fire and fell all the way down to the street. Now, I don't think anybody was killed, but I think there were some minor injuries. But, I mean, imagine that, walking to work, and then you look up and you see a crane, you know, flying from 100 stories up down to the earth. That's a freaky experience, man. All right, we are almost at the corner of 57th Street. Humbled I Am is here. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Hey, Tom M, what's up? Oh, DM, was it? DM says it was 10th Avenue and 41st Street. You know, DM, I saw the videos on Twitter. That was scary looking because the way the crane came down, it looked like the top of the crane slammed into the building adjacent from it. Well, to think that, but it was true. Oh, here we are. This is 157 and Steinway Tower. Angela's here. Hey, Angela. Thanks for joining us. We just reached Billionaires Row. We're making the big trek to Lincoln Center tonight. Ken Glass is here. Lady Sarita. Hope you all had a great Monday. Oh, Hawaii, you're right. Hawaii says, yep, it did hit the other building. It was crazy. Yeah, I mean, the way it fell, looking at the video with no additional context, you would think that, unfortunately, there would have been some casualties. The thing was on fire. So that's a blessing in and of itself, that nobody was severely injured or killed. You know, this hotel does a really good job with the outdoor dining. They do the best job they can with all this scaffolding up. Now, this is my old building. This was my favorite building of all time. I miss it. This is 106 Central Park South. And this is the exact entrance to Central Park. Now, during COVID, there was actually a mini flash crash in New York City real estate. So I was able to get a studio apartment on the 20th floor for I think right around $2,000. It was an amazing experience to be able to live right on Central Park South. I think the same apartment that I rented, when I moved out, they re-rented it for just shy, I think, of $4,100. Maybe even a little bit more. You could check it out on Street Easy, the previous rental. But yeah, my unit, assuming the tenant doesn't renew, to get it back. I would love to get that place back. Because, I mean, look at this. You can't get a better location than this. You're right on the corner of 6th Avenue. You look all the way downtown. You have Billionaires Row at your back. And you're at the exact entrance to Central Park. I mean, this is a freaking knock it out of the park job here. I mean, if you have the opportunity to live on Central Park South, I mean, you got to take that chance. We'll sort of walk right past the front of the building. Now, this actually used to have a lot of scaffolding up here as well. Looks like they've taken it down. Look at how beautiful the lobby is, man. These really unique art galleries here too. And very peaceful, very quiet. Now, right as you come out of the building, 106 Central Park South, guess what you see in the distance? You see the very famous Sherry Netherland, which is one of my personal favorite buildings in the city. It's not my favorite, but it's one of my favorite. And sort of bringing it back to a financial standpoint, if anybody's ever read Reminiscences of a Stock Operator, that book was based on the life of Jesse Livermore. And after he would go and trade stocks down on Wall Street at all the bucket shops, he would come all the way uptown to the Sherry Netherland on Central Park South, where he would have a drink in the bar in the Sherry Netherland. Now, unfortunately, as the tale has it, allegedly, on Thanksgiving Day, he unfortunately committed suicide in the cloakroom of the Sherry Netherland, and he was arguably one of the greatest stock operators of all time in history. Hey, Lang Lang is here. What's up? Melissa 2087 says, Tom, just got back from my vacation in Tennessee. Whoa, where in Tennessee did you go? That's cool. I've been to Tennessee once. I was walking around Vanderbilt University. It was an amazing experience. But that's good, Melissa. That makes me happy. I'm glad you had a good trip in Tennessee. But glad you're back in New York City. This is the JW Marriott Essex House. This is a 5-star hotel. Beautiful Art Deco hotel in New York. I'll give you a little bit of a peek in the lobby. Look at how stunning that is. This is one of my favorite Art Deco style buildings in the city. Melissa 2087, very cool. You did Knoxville, Chattanooga. You did Nashville back in 2014. Love that. This is the New York Athletic Club. Hey, M. Walters. Or M. Waters, yeah. You know, I wouldn't, the thing is, you could actually purchase a unit in the Sherry Netherlands. But the vast majority of the units there are used as pied-à-terres. Now, if you want to see a really cool apartment, that was almost a fender bender there with the big MTA bus. Hey, Daniel G, this is Tom. You have to talk about retirement funds one day. It will be nice to read / hear your opinions. Yeah, I mean, I guess what do you want to know about them? The main thing I would say to know about retirement funds is the following. Well, actually, I'll start off with recommending a really good book. Now, in Jack Bogle's book, one of his most famous publications, I would say, The Little Book of Common Sense Investing, he talks about retirement funds in the United States, right? So if you're in the US, chances are if you work for a corporation, you have either a 401k or an IRA, 403b, and whatnot. Now, the problem with a lot of those funds have been the egregious fees, right? And I would even argue the vast majority of people, this is 220 Central Park South, real quick. This is one of the most exclusive addresses in New York City. Our good friend Ken Griffin from Citadel Securities has a few units in there. But anyway, I would argue that the vast majority of Americans, they don't even know what they're invested in, okay, in these 401ks. They just say, look, I'm in a target date fund, and for example, let's say if you're expected to retire in the year 2050, well, chances are if you look into your 401k, it'll say target date fund of 2050, target date fund of 2030, right, if you're nearing retirement. And essentially, people are oblivious to the fees that these sort of managed funds carry. And a target date fund essentially is the closer you move to retirement, the allocation shifts based upon your risk tolerance, right? So as you move closer and closer and closer to retirement age, your target date fund will have more and more fixed income or bonds, right? So maybe you're a 20-year-old kid. You just got a job out of college. In your 401k, assuming that you're in some sort of a target date fund, you're probably going to be like 95% equities, 5% fixed income and bonds. But as you near retirement age, the allocation shifts, right? You'll probably have like maybe a 50-50 or a 60-40. And that's fine, right? There's nothing wrong with that. The problem is that people are oblivious to the fees. And if you're paying, 100 basis points, 200 basis points for the expense ratios on these products, you're really getting ripped off. And I think it would be in your best interest to go to your company and have them really negotiate these rates to shop your 401k plans to, Charles Schwab, to T. Rowe Price, Fidelity, right? Because that's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to look out for your best interests. So I would say if you're nearing retirement age and you never even look at your 401k and you have no idea what's in it, there's probably an 80% chance you're getting banged with crazy fees. In today's day and age, you should be paying less than 100 basis points for the expense ratio, which is 1%, right? Every time people say like basis points, they just try to sound smart. You should be paying less than 1% in terms of your fees for a managed product in a 401k. Because compound interest works both ways, right? It's great when you're making money, but fees and fee income can also compound. So it's very important to note that. Okay, we are now passing the Trump International Hotel and Tower. This is a really, really nice hotel. I would recommend staying here. It is a 5-star luxury hotel right on Central Park. It has gorgeous views of Columbus Circle and Central Park, as well as 15 Central Park West. Beautiful here. All right, let me catch up on some of the chats. Hey, Crypto Meme is here. What's up, Jeff? W277 says, but Fidelity has target date funds too. Yeah, I'm not saying target date funds are bad. What I'm saying is most people, right, generally speaking, the majority of people, they don't check the fees in the products that they're invested in. They just say, oh, I'm adding money to my 401k. And if you said, okay, well, what do you own? They would say, oh, I don't know, it's this target date fund. The point is, look, use the term, this is what I always use, follow the money, okay? Follow the money. And the incentivization structure on Wall Street is to grow AUM, which means assets under management, right? Because the more AUM you have, the more fee income you have. You know, if you're managing $1 billion and you're charging 2%, well, you're going to be feeling well. So the more 401k assets Fidelity, BlackRock, Charles Schwab, T. Rowe Price can attract, the more fee income. And if you're paying too much in fees, it's not like your banker is going to call you up and say, hey, Mr. Jeff, we have a same exact product at the firm that's a newer product that's costs 50% less. We just wanted to let you know that you're paying too much and we want to shift you into the cheaper fund. That's not going to happen. So it's up to you to do that with yourself or your financial advisor to say, look, do an audit of my 401k and am I paying too much in fees? Read the book. It's a very good book. It's called The Little Book of Common Sense Investing by Jack Bogle. It is like basic finance 101, and it details how compounding interest can work for and against you. But things have gotten better. I don't want to be super negative. Things have gotten a lot better. If you think about the 80s, right? And even the 90s. Now, who remembers, adding or buying a mutual fund in 1985 or 1990? I'm sure many of you remember that. Well, back then, they had something called load funds. So if you bought a mutual fund, let's say if you bought a growth stock mutual fund, they would bang you with 5% on the buy. If you wanted to sell, they would hammer you with another 5%. And then every year you own the fund, they charge you 200 basis points. So they crush your skull with 5% on the buy. They curb stomp you with 5% on the back end. And then they blow you away per annum with 2%. Now, that is all gone away with now. If you're paying a load fee on a mutual fund, that is just egregious. If you just go into your brokerage account, it'll say very specifically, it'll have like a little box, it'll say no load. And that's what you want to look for, because you shouldn't be paying 5% in fees just to buy into a fund. This is 2023, this isn't the 80s. So you know, if you're going into a branch office, or maybe you're a little bit older, you still need that help, you'd be surprised. They charge you that money. So I think it's just important to be aware of it and just pay as little as you can in management fees. I think Fidelity even has an index fund that tracks the S&P 500 that I don't think it has any fees, I think. I don't know. I actually think one of you guys brought that up in the chat. There's a S&P 500 ETF that Fidelity came out with that is no fee. There's no fees at all, which is great, which is really, really good. Hang with Mark Mom says, yep, I only grabbed no load fee mutual funds back in the day. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, I could only imagine being a broker, like a stockbroker back in 1985, you know, cold calling some people saying, hey, you know, why don't you invest, you know, $500,000 into this mutual fund? And you get hit with a 5% load fee. That's crazy. Now, back then it wasn't crazy, but now thinking about it, it's really crazy. Okay, we have finally made it. This is the gorgeous Lincoln Center. This is one of my favorite places in all New York City. It's absolutely beautiful. And I think this is the world's largest disco floor. Look at how unique this is. This is so cool. This is actually a disco ball that is suspended above the fountain here. We'll take a step on the dance floor, I guess. Hey, Zozo Bob, what's up? Good to see you, Bob. I know, battery grams like we made it after 2 days. You guys got to keep me on track. I mean, my attention span is pretty much nothing. So you guys got to keep me on track. But I'm glad we made it to Lincoln Center. I think people need to see this. This isn't a main tourist attraction. And if you have never been to New York City before, this is a great place to come. As you could tell, think about what we were doing when we were walking through Midtown Manhattan. It was absolutely packed in and around Midtown and Times Square. But here at Lincoln Center, there's really not a lot of people. And I think there's a lot of fun things to do here. Keith says, Tom, it was argued that load funds were better managed and had better returns. Yeah, I mean, it was argued, but if you back test and do the analysis on there, it's not true. I mean, that's like the pitch, right? I mean, if you work for a broker dealer and you're in your morning meeting and it's 1990 and you're role playing and your manager says, well, what if somebody on the phone says, well, you know what? You know, I don't think I should pay these fees because I could just go and buy a no-load fund. Well, they would coach you to say, well, you know, if you pay the load fee, this mutual fund is going to be better managed and you get better returns. It's not, I'm not saying there's anything unethical there, but if you back test historically for historical returns, it's just not the case, in my view. Now, the reason why fees have come down materially on Wall Street is just because of disruption, right? Even commissions on Wall Street for equities trading and options trading has come down substantially. And this really all started with Jack Bogle from the Vanguard Group. And one of the ways that he was clever in gaining AUM, which is assets under management, is by starting commission compression, right? So if you could say, hey, you know, if you can go to General Electric and say, hey, we'll manage all your retirement and we'll do it for a fraction of the cost that Fidelity will do it, well then of course, you know, you're going to have some movement there, which I think is good. And that's what free market capitalism is all about. It's competition in the free market to make experiences and products and services better for the consumer. And Wall Street has definitely improved materially for the consumer, by far.
Thanks, Colin.
Oh, Jay Sully says XIAX, I believe, is the Fidelity S&P ETF that doesn't have any fees. Yeah, it's interesting. I think it's a good conversation to have. These are all really good points. Hey, Beacon, New York, what's up? I'll take you guys all the way back here. Maybe we can go on the lawn. This is where they have operas and all that. Let me catch up on the comments. Yeah, Zozo Bob's load funds became more unpopular as people became educated on them. Yeah, as they should, right? I believe that was one of John Bogle's most famous quotes, and maybe I'll have to paraphrase, but I think it was him who said Wall Street has been banking on the ignorant consumer for far too long. I think that was him, or that may have been Peter Lynch. I forget. It was one of those two, and I think that was it. It was like Wall Street has been banking on the oblivious consumer, or ignorant, I don't know. But it definitely fits exactly what you're saying is 100% correct. Whoa, this is cool. Look at this. These are all flamingos. Fake flamingos in the pool. Hey, buy the book. Thank you so much for your generous $10 donations. It's great info as always, Tom. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for being here. And thank you for supporting the stream. Buy the book. Hope you're having a good start to your week. Look at all these flamingos, man. This is kind of cool. I know, I heard about that. So I'm seeing a lot of the comments in the chat about Pee Wee Herman. I saw that earlier today. I feel as if we've been losing a lot of celebrities lately. I think last week, Tony Bennett passed away. I think the famous saying is what? It happens in threes. There's always a group of three who pass away. I think I was the most upset about Tony Bennett. But look, I think he passed away, over 90 years old? I mean, that's a blessing in and of itself. I mean, life is so short, so precious. I mean, to be able to live to 90, that is, I mean, you can't even be sad about that. I mean, that's just, like, if anything, that's super lucky. Yeah, Jeff W277, you're right, it says Tony Bennett was very old. I always say anything above 80, it's like, it's a blessing. Like, you shouldn't even be sad, because that is just a blessing. This is an amazing shot of Central Park Tower and 220 Central Park South. Gorgeous. Hey, speaking of Canada, we were talking about our Canadian friends earlier in the stream. The Ken Continuum. What's up? Says grab a beverage afterwards. Ken, we gotta link up when I'm in Toronto, my friend. God willing, I'll be there end of August. I gotta set it up because I'm gonna be in San Francisco and then I'm gonna go to Toronto, which I'm excited about. I haven't been to Canada since I was like a little kid, so I'm excited about it. I've always wanted to go to Canada. Right before the world shut down with COVID, I was about to get on a train with my friends to go to Canada, and then those plans were foiled. So I'm excited about it. But it's good to see you, man. Thanks for joining us here in Lincoln Center, New York. Bobak 50. He says, Tom, when are you coming to Sarasota, Florida? So it looks like it's going to be a very busy travel for me. I'm working on a lot of exciting things that I've wanted to do for a long time, and I may be put on a very big project in Sarasota. Now, I got to scope it out. Once I hang up this live stream, I actually have to go work on the pitch deck for that project. But maybe in 2 weeks, I may be there for like 2 days just to sort of scope things out, look at some other new developments in the area. Now, here's where I really want to go. And I had no idea this existed until I started doing some due diligence on the neighborhood. Siesta Key. Is anybody familiar with Siesta Key in Sarasota? Now, supposedly, it's one of the nicest beaches in the entire United States of America. It's gorgeous. I was looking at some of the photos on Google Images, so I'm super excited about going there. But yeah, I'll keep you posted. If you guys want to connect off the stream, you could follow us on Twitter, which is now known as X. You could follow at Walks Wall Street. If you click the links in the descriptions, you could sign up for our free investing newsletter, where we also talk about New York City real estate. The Behind the Street newsletter is our Substack, and you could follow us on our IG with the links in the description. But I think I'm gonna have to cut it short here. I do have an early start tomorrow. I will keep all of you well informed in my travel plans, but I'm excited. I'm excited for Sarasota. I've never been there before. I'm excited about Toronto. I haven't been there since I was a little kid. And I'm excited to go to California, San Francisco. So everybody, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I thought it was a great conversation. I think we had a really good conversation the last couple streams about automation, AI, fees on Wall Street, earnings season. Have a great August 1st. Okay, make sure you guys hit it hard. First day of the month. Set yourself up for a very, very successful August. And I'll see you all right back here at 8:30 p.m. So Zazzy Fresh, appreciate it. Zane, Hawaii, thank you so much. Hang with Mark Mom. Brick Stonewall, Robert, Justin S. Jr., thank you so much for joining us. Joe, Dusty Cole, Alex, Texas, thank you so much. UniJ23, DWG, Teresa Diaz, Blues Writer, Madison 32, NBA Elias, DM, Austin City Limits. Hey, AK, what's up? Action Kid, maybe I'll see you out there in what's it called? San Francisco. I'm gonna go there. All right, everybody, there's always a bull market somewhere. You just need to know where to look. Enjoy your night. See you soon. And Western Mass Dave, I got you at the end. Take care.